Okay, Satnam Aloha everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Let me just get my slide up here so that you can see it. Okay, so that's great. I don't think you're seeing that. Okay. Okay, everybody, if you could put your astrology information and your human design type and profile if you know it. And I'm just seeing that you're seeing a white screen. You shouldn't be seeing a white screen. Okay, let me just fix this here. There we go. Okay, so let me see if I'm on here and if you can hear me clearly. Right here. Yay, everybody's here. Okay, so how is everybody feeling after the eclipse on Tuesday, the lunar eclipse? I didn't really feel too much on the Tuesday, but wow, I got sacked on Wednesday. It felt like a ton of bricks hit me. I got really exhausted, like just out of the blue. I went into this deep nap and felt nauseous and kind of dizzy and just really, not feeling like myself. But it's really a time of a great purge, right? Of a purge. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure that my sound is on. Let me see here. If you could put that in the chat, that would be great. Okay. Just the technical stuff is, I feel good. Pegs, I feel good. Okay. That would be great. Okay. Okay, good. Everything's fine. It's just like technology's been doing some weird things. Okay. So, okay. Stayed up. So problem sleeping, eh? Hermes. Stayed up like 40 hours straight Monday to Wednesday. I feel great. Lots of energy lately. I feel like things have, yeah. I feel really good as well. Today, energy's definitely moving. Okay, so today I want to talk about the solar eclipse that's coming up on October 2nd. And I know it's early, but it's worth giving you the heads up, right, of what's going on here. Okay. So we've got the solar eclipse. So there's the astrology chart here, which is really interesting. So you've got the moon here, right, at 10 degrees, and then with the south node. So this is what makes it so important in Faded. It's because it's connected to the nodes, right? So it's with the south node. You'll notice with the south node. That's what the horseshoe is pointing upward. That's the south node, and there's the sun and the moon. But look at the party that's going on here. There's a big party happening with the south node, the moon, the sun, black moon Lilith, which I'll talk about, and Mercury. And the other thing to mention too is that the Mars in Cancer is squaring these. So we'll look at all of these aspects according to human design, right? So, okay, so where to start here? We'll go up here. So you want to have your chart. And remember, if you're new to this channel, you go down to the information box and you'll see, scroll down and you'll see free chart, and you click on that and you get your natal chart. Because you want to follow along with your natal chart, because you'll learn more and more about human design by following this channel. Right, so this is what's called a transit chart. It's a transit chart. So this is the global transit program, right? 70% of the neutrinos, right, subelectronic particles, are coming from the sun, and this is what programs. That's what the program is. So it has a huge influence over all of humanity, right? So you can see we've got the sun at 48.1, the moon at 48.1, Mercury at 48, but it's 0.3, right? So those are the three there. And then, I didn't talk about, and then we've got Mars is squaring all of those in the 53, so it's squaring those. And then I forgot to talk about Mars is trining, right? Mars is trining Venus, and Venus is in the 44.5. So I'll talk all about those, because this time that we're in, the karmic axis is in Libra, South Node, and Aries, North Node, and this is all about our relationships. So the theme continues, right? Continues on, is about our relationships. So right away you can see that there's definition, right? So what makes a definition is that 21 is activated by the Earth, and then the 45 Jupiter, right? So that's what makes called a channel. And that's what gives definition. This is the throat chakra, and this is the willpower center here, or the heart center, you can call it too. In terms of if you're familiar with human design, it's like, nah, that's the ego. No, I don't use the word ego for this. I'm a yogi, and ego is part of the mind. It's part of the mind to me. But this is definitely willpower, your willpower center here. So this is connected. So this is the money channel. They call it the money channel. This is about all of our material resources here, right? Our material resources. So that's going to be definitely on our mind in relationship to these other factors, right? These other activations. So let's talk about the 48 first. So there's the 48, and it's coming off the splenic awareness system, right? Right here, this is our most ancient awareness system here. So remember what I say, whenever you see an activation, and all of these numbers, right, they represent a fear, like a deep, deep ancient fear. So the 48, the fear is of inadequacy. And it's in a lot of positions here, including Black Moon Lilith is here too. So inadequacy. So the 48 is the gate of depth, right? It's the gate of depth in human design. So it's deeply rooted to our human instinctual memory. So our instinctual memory. I look at how our instinctual memory serves us. It serves us because we're always progressing. We're always evolving as a species, right? And I remember when I first got my dog, he was my first little dog. He's a Chihuahua mix, Bougie. And I noticed we went camping. He was like 3 months then, right? So we're camping, and I noticed he's looking up all the time. And I thought, that's weird. Why is he looking up? And my intuition was telling me, he's looking for birds. And he like predators, right? Because he's so small, right? He'd just be a snack, right? For a predator bird. And I thought, isn't that interesting? How did he learn that? Well, this is instinctual memory, right? So it's the same as us. We have our instinctual memory. That's where the fear of heights come from. Right? Like weird phobias that we have. That's just something that's been passed down through our ancestors. That's kept us alive, right? So it's deeply rooted, and it can be tapped into. The 48 can be tapped into to solve problems. So it brings depth, right? It's all about depth, this 48. It brings depth to whatever you focus on. Whatever you focus on, whatever problem you have in your life, if you draw upon this 48 and you focus, then it comes depth. Now, this has nothing to do with the mind, right? The mind's all up here. There's nothing going on down here, right? This is like instinctual. It's your instinct. But it can bring up feelings of inadequacy and insecurity, deep insecurity, this 48. So it's also the gate of black magic. Notice that I put that on the title, the gate of black magic. And why is that? It's because it's the divine feminine. It's dark, right? The feminine, we're not talking about human forms. We're talking about the feminine energy. It's very dark. It's like the dark void, right? But there are people, well, it's empty. No, it's not empty. It's filled. It's full, right? This dark void. But we don't trust it as a humanity. We don't trust that void. So as soon as you face the dark feminine, then feelings of insecurity come up, and right, deep fear of insecurity and deep fear of inadequacy, that I can't do it. I can't face these problems that are, we're going to see more and more problems that we've never seen before on this planet as a humanity, right? So it's bringing up insecurity already, and major fears. So this is the darkest place in all of the chart. This is the darkest place. So if you have this, and you're telling me, if you have this activated, right, the 48 in your chart, and you're coming to me and telling me, oh, I feel really inadequate, I don't have any depth, then I'm going to say right away, you're full of it, because it's completely activated in your chart. It's yours. You can claim it. So the solar eclipse is showing us that. Sometimes, we have to go through these experiences where we're tested to our limits. Like we're really being challenged in order to reach down, like way down within us, to find this 48, that actually we do have a lot of strength, and we do have a lot of depth, and we do have a lot of solutions. Now, it doesn't matter if this is activated in your chart or not. You're going to be affected by it, right? Around this is very tribal. The 2145 is very tribal. And this is the ruler, like the 45 is the king or queen, right? And then this is the hunter. It's called the hunter. So the 21 is like, okay, 21 goes out hunting. We're talking tribal consciousness right now, right? The hunter goes out, right? Hunts, brings back the animals, the killed animals, and then brings that to the king or the queen, and then the king or queen distributes that. So the king or queen decides who eats at the table and who doesn't, who gets fed and who doesn't, so as an archetype, right? So we're very concerned with this. Who's ruling our food source right now, right? Who's ruling our food source? It's becoming more and more centralized, isn't it? Our food. More and more companies, monopolies, and corporations are buying up smaller food sources. The farmers, right, going out of business, right? Just this monopoly. Eat like Pac-Man, like eating, until there's very few companies that will own the major food source, right? So that would be like the 45. We're going to decide who eats and who doesn't eat, right? Of here, and it's control, right? There's control and domination. The 45 is the shadow of domination, and the 21 is of control here. So that's going to be in our awareness with the solar eclipse, right? Will I get fed? Will I get my needs met? And then you've got all this inadequacy coming up, right? Will I survive? It's the spleen, right? So that's the 48 right here. So if we go, let's go deeper, because this is the gate of depth. Let's go deeper. Well, it's in the first line here. The sun and the moon are here in the first line. Mercury's in the third line, but Black Moon Lilith will be in the first line as well. And we'll get into her in a second. So this is whenever you get a first line in any number here, the 64 gates, they correlate to the 64 codons of your DNA, and then the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So the 48.1, that starts, because it goes first line, second line, third line, fourth line, fifth line, sixth line. Well, it starts in the first line, This is the foundation of that whole gate, right? So it's 48.1. So right away, we're going to see a beginning, right? This is a beginning. It's a foundation, right? And you're dealing with fear here with the first line. Fear and security. So that echoes with the 48 itself. So this is, with this, the solar eclipse is activating this spleen for all of us to have a taste, because it's about your senses, a taste for what deserves our attention. Because remember, there's a war on our attention, right? On our attention. That's why it's pay attention. You have to pay attention. You're paying. This is how valuable our attention is as a human. So a taste for what deserves our attention and what's useless trivia, what's bread and circus, right? Because right now we're seeing the fall of the Roman Empire with Wi-Fi, right? And what we're seeing right now is a lot of bread and circus on the news, the mainstream news and social media, a lot of distractions, right? But the 48.1 gives us the taste for what deserves our attention. Oh, that's useless trivia over here. It's just a distraction for me, right? So this is a powerful gift to have. But remember that the depth is not just about the mind. It's not about the mind at all. Because like we worship the mind as a humanity. Remember, we're moving out of the mental awareness system, right? So this is, let me get this here. So right here, what was I saying? Oh, so the depth is not about the mind. It's not about with this 48.1. Your depth has nothing to do with the mind. It doesn't have anything to do with the mind. It's just there. Your depth is just there. If you go inside, if you meditate, and please, everybody needs to start to meditate every single day without fail. Every single day. Do something, right? Prayer, meditation, some spiritual practice that you do every single day. But meditation helps you to tap into this depth. Because when you're meditating, you're transcending the mind, right? The mind is like a little tiny speck in comparison to who you are, your greatness as a being, a spiritual being, right? So it goes with the meditation. You realize, oh, there's depth. There's such depth. And there's a universe inside me, right? That's what you realize. And that the mind is so small in comparison. So that depth is already there. It has nothing to do with the mind. But what comes out of that depth is wisdom. It just comes out. It blurts out of you. It has nothing to do with your mind. It will just blurt out of you when you tap into this depth. That's why also it's called the well, right? So the well, it's like, a deep, deep well. It's like you put your bucket down, right? And you're listening to it and the ropes keeps going down. Oh, I'm not hearing it, or I'm not feeling it reach the bottom yet. You don't know what's down there. All you see is darkness, right? And then suddenly it hits the bottom and then you pull it up and you don't know what's going to come up out of this well. But what comes up is like wisdom, and it's surprising what comes out of that well. So solar eclipse is activating this for us as a humanity, our resource, right? So don't go into a place where I'm so stuck in my life and there's no solutions, I don't know what to do. That's because you're relying on your mind, right? You're relying on your mind for solutions, and your mind is all about the past. It's not about the future, right? It's all about the past. And if you are looking into the future with the mind, you're just projecting the past onto the future, right? So this is there's a way through every block. That's one of the sutras of the Aquarian age. So it's about trusting that you have the resources. You have them. You need to claim that. I have resources inside me. I don't know. Start there. I know that I don't know. I know that I don't know. And that frees you up. I know that I don't know. That frees you up from the mind, the limitations of your mind. I know that I don't know, but I know that I don't know, but I'm going to really surrender. That's a big word right now, is to surrender to this depth inside me, to the depth inside me for solutions. And they blurt out, right? The bucket comes quickly out of the well, and there it is. You're blurting out the solution. You're blurting out the solution. You don't know where it came from. So you don't want to judge. You don't use your mind and judge, because the mind and the ego will want to get in there. Well, that's not going to work, because the mind and the ego are all about the past. We can't rely on solutions that worked in the past. That's the cross of planning. That's strategy. That's focus. That's not our energy. The energy we're moving into, the cross of the sleeping phoenix, is present now moment. Present now moment. I know that I don't know with my mind. However, I also know in my being that the solution is there if I just trust and I surrender. This is the feminine. I'm trusting my divine feminine. We all have it, whether you're in male form or female form. So you want to relax and know that you have this depth to you, right? With the solar eclipse here. Okay. So that's the one. So that's the sun and the moon is activating this for us. And then if we look at the, okay. So if you have this natally, or you know somebody has this natally, it's all about collecting. It's collecting information, collecting things and things like that. So that person can either be really, because it's a binary, right? So that person can be very, very deep, or they can be surface. They can either be the ocean or the mud puddle, right? So this is like I'm collecting all this trivia, right? All this, I know all these facts and figures. I'm the master of the word salad. I'm the word salad spinner master. And they're not saying anything, right? There's no depth to their conversation. So it can work both ways, right, with this 48. Okay. So it takes time for depth, right? The depth, it takes time. So you have to be patient, right? You have to be patient with the solution coming to the surface. It's not like this. The ego wants it now. There's nothing going on. I'm going to take over the ego and the mind. And that's just going to take you down dead-end roads. That's not your authority. Okay, so if we go to the 3, because Mars is squaring these, right? There's the eclipse, and then we've got Mercury here, and that's in the 3rd line. So you may relate to this even if you don't have this activated in your chart. So this is incommunicado. It's called incommunicado. So that means the inability to speak. I'm incommunicado. So this is the inability to communicate your depth, right? So this would come from the mind, right? Because there it is, it's in Mercury. So that's all about your left brain. This is the masculine part of your brain, right? That I can't communicate this depth. I can't communicate this depth. So it can bring anxiety, right? Because with the 48.3, if you have this natally, you understand exactly what I'm saying here, is you know that you have the depth. I know that I have this depth, but I can't communicate. I'm just like silent, but I know it's there. It can bring frustration. That's part of it too. So it can bring frustration. So this, remember the solar eclipse goes for a year after. So this is going to be a major theme for us. So there can be a frustration that comes with I'm unable to communicate this, right? This depth. So anxiety, right? There's anxiety when you can't access this with the mind. You know it's there, but you can't communicate it. And why it's frustrating too is that people ignore you. So you have all this depth, but maybe you don't have this gift of like the word salad. I'm not a good word salad spinner, right? I'm not a good word salad spinner, right? I'm not able to articulate beautifully on the fly of what's going on inside me. And then I've got people who ignore me. Maybe loved ones ignore me. They underestimate me. They may even think I'm stupid, right? This is the arrogance of the ego, right? They won't listen to me. They're not patient with me as I formulate my thoughts, right? They're not patient with me. Meanwhile, I have all this depth. I'm an ocean. And they're judging me. They're a mud puddle. And they're judging me, judging my depth, right? So this can bring up frustration too. That will come out during the solar eclipse. Solar eclipse in terms of our relationships. If you have someone in your life like that. But there's a deep urge to want, with Mercury in this position, there's a deep urge to bring this depth out. But it's not there because you need to be patient. You need to give it time. So the other thing, what can happen with this person, if you don't love yourself and you're in this state where you feel undermined, you're being underestimated, you're ignored, people talk all over you, people think that you're not very smart, right? Well, what you can do with this 48.3 is you can be obsessed with this, the 16, skills, right? This is a major theme in the cross of planning that we're leaving. I need to get the skills. I need more skills so I can express my depth. Why? So I can get approval from these people, right? That I can not be judged by these people. They'll finally see who I am. And there you go. You're wasting a bunch of your energy, not being your authentic self and running out people pleasing, right? With the skills. So this is constantly looking for another skill, right? And what you're doing is you're trying to prove yourself, right? With that 48.3, prove yourself, right? You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. Just know that you have the depth. If people want to think that about you, let them. Really, they're just projecting their own insecurity onto you, right? And silence, that's the language of the master, right? A master uses very few words. I don't trust people who talk a lot and say nothing, right? It's like, what's going on underneath there? What's really going on? Why do they have to be talking so much about nothing, right? Well, usually there's a deep insecurity there. Okay. Okay. And the intellect makes everything so complex. When somebody's using their intellect, they make everything really, really complex. Genius, you use very few words to describe things, because very few words are needed. And silence is the greatest language, right? That's the language of the being, is silence. So don't underestimate, for you guys, the power of silence, the power of just being silent. Right? The power of your aura and what your aura communicates. Okay. Okay, so that's the 48.3. We did that. And the 48. And then let's look at Mars. Mars. So Mars is squaring all that. So that's like brings attention. That's attention, right? So all of these issues are going to come up during the solar eclipse. And it's around our relationships, and I'm just going to bring that in a second here. I just want to go through what these mean. So there's the 53 coming off the root chakra. Mars is activating that. Look, it's in the first line again, right? So it's squaring those themes. So this is the gate of development. It's called the gate of development, and it's all about maturity. So this is about beginning new cycles. Solar eclipse is about the new, but it's activating the self node, which is about letting go. So the solar eclipse is saying is that you need to let something go to allow this new to come in, right? And it's fated. And Mars is like, if you've been hemming and hawing and dragging your heels, Mars like, it's time, it's action time. It's action time. This is powerful energy here. So the 53.1 in Mars here, and it's a pressure off the root chakra, right? It's like you need to complete something. You need to complete something before you start something new. So it's going to force you to complete something, the solar eclipse, because if you jump, right? If you're listening to your ego and your mind, and I'm just going to jump out of this experience, this job I'm in, or this relationship I'm in that's expiry date has happened, and I'm just going to jump and not complete it, then what happens is you start on square one again. So you've got to look at yourself. You're in Earth School, and right, and we attract these experiences so that we can grow and evolve as a soul. So if you're in a situation like for a year and you're learning about self-worth, right? So maybe you're in a relationship and you're learning all about self-worth. That's your karmic lesson at this time. And you jump from that relationship because it's too much, right? I can't handle it. I'm just going to jump out of it prematurely. I didn't get the lesson. I didn't complete it. Then you get into the next relationship, and then the year's worth is gone. You're off again, right? You start in square one learning this lesson. So this keeps you immature. Immature, that's the shadow of the 53. Immaturity. You never mature. You never develop as a spiritual being, right? You're not developing. So this is saying completion. Mars is like, you need to complete this. It's all going to happen, right? Solar eclipse. It's going to happen like 6 months to a year, right? It's going to fast track you to come to completion so that the new can come in, and probably sooner than 6 months a year, right? The new will probably be there 6 months to a year from now. The new, like fully in your next cycle here with the 53. So it's about cycles, moving through a cycle. So this is saying the cycle is ending. And then it's 53.1. And this is what I already talked about. So it's called accumulation. That's the keynote, is accumulation. So beginnings come after something is completed, right? So just everything that I already said. So you don't want to repeat cycles, right? You don't want to repeat the cycles with this. And Mars is squaring this, right? Forcing you to go inside for your answers, to stop giving your power away to other people. That's a big lesson as we're moving into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. You have to be self-sovereign, right? So that's that. And then we go to more stuff here. So Venus is in the 44.5. It's the only one that's in the fifth line. And Mars is trining Venus. So Venus and Mars, it's the masculine and the feminine energy, right? It's all about our relationships. It's about our relationships. So it's squaring the solar eclipse, right? And Black Moon Lilith, right? There. And so the 44.5 is all about manipulation. This. So this 44.5 is that there's a pyramid, there's a hierarchy. The cross of planning is all about hierarchies. I'm better than you. That person's better than me. And we're in this social ladder, basically. It's how our civilization has been built. And so 44.5 is manipulative in Venus. So this is like, I need to be comfortable. Let's say in your relationship. So this could be your romantic relationship or your relationship with your boss or a parent, a family member. So the 44.5 is like, I recognize this hierarchy and I'm above this person, right? I'm above this person, right? And I'm comfortable in this position, but I need to manipulate this other person because this person is lower than me, right? Lower than me. So this person here needs to be comfortable and feel like they're okay and that they're being protected, they're being taken care of. So I use my gifts of manipulation to keep them in their place, right? To keep them in their place so that they keep doing these things for me so that I can feel comfortable, right? So I can feel comfortable. So this would be like if you look at the boss and the worker. And I really want generators to get this, generators and manifesting generators, because you are transcending the archetype. It's an archetype of the slave, right? And this is totally how this works, this 44.5. So you've got the workers that are working 40 hours, right? 40 hours plus now, just to survive, basically, right? And they're working hard, blah, blah, blah. And there's the boss, right? The boss maybe not working as hard, right? But making tons more money than you. And how we put up with this, and this is the 44.5. The boss manipulates the workers, right? In different ways. Oh, you got it really, really lucky. You're making this much money per hour. And look at somebody in a different company doing the same work, they're making less money, right? So it's like fighting over, the slaves are fighting over the crumbs, right? That the boss throws at them. So this is coming up in your personal relationships. Where am I being manipulated by my partner? That I'm his servant or her servant, right? That I do all of these things. The division of labor is not fair. His work is more important than my work, like where there's inequality, right? Because remember, we're transmuting this 3740. It's all about our relationships and the cross of planning. So wherever there's inequality, that's going to come up, right? And we're looking at the divine feminine. And so typically we know that the feminine has been devalued. The feminine is devalued. You know, I hear this often from mothers, or have in the past. I still hear this from mothers. Mothers and their husband or whatever, the father of the children, is out, getting the bread and stuff. And the mother, I would say, well, what do you do? Right? I didn't know she was a mother, right? Oh, I don't work. I stay home with the kids. And I said, that sounds like work, right? That sounds like work. That sounds like a job. But again, it's not valued, right? It's not valued through money. It's not appreciated through money, the symbol of money, right? So all of this is going to be coming up, right? So, and the old ways, this old manipulation, right? This old way is not going to work anymore because you've got the divine feminine here. You've got Mars squaring that, which can bring up anger, right? And then you've got Black Moon Lilith, she's the dark feminine, right? Filled with anger. So there's going to be some confrontations, right? Some confrontations to finish up this cycle. That's what Mars wants you to do and wants you to mature, right? And finish up this cycle. So there can be a lot of arguments. And Venus trine Mars can also bring up, because we're talking about Venus, that's relationships. It's also money, because Venus rules Taurus too, and Libra. So it can be relationships, money, right? So this can also bring up sexual stuff, right? With the Venus trine Mars here. And this is sexual, like no passion. The passion in the relationship is gone. The sex is gone. That's always a sign in a relationship that it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end when this passion is gone. And this is like physical right? Physical passion, so it's sexual. So this can come up too with Black Moon Lilith because she's very sexual, right? Because this energy here, Black Moon Lilith, sexual energy, this is transformative energy. It's transformation, this energy here, this sexual energy. So so this isn't good, right? This isn't good, but it's going to bring all of this stuff to the truth, to the surface. And say maybe you don't have a partner, you can use this energy with the Venus, Mars, and create in creative projects, right? It's going to really help with like art projects, right? So that would be a good way to channel this energy. And it expresses who you are. It's an expression of who you are. So I really see like it's a real empowerment of the divine feminine, right? Which has to come. It's part of the prophecy for this age too. Doesn't mean the divine feminine. Oh, it's like, okay, we're doing a pendulum swing from the patriarchy to the matriarchy. No, we're coming into equality. Remember, we're self-sovereign and hold on to ourselves with this new cross of the sleeping phoenix. So we're coming more into balance, male and female. And remember, it's about balancing your energy within. Okay. So this is about like manipulation, is I'm going to talk, and not do anything. And Mars is there. It's like, we're done talking. We got to start acting, right? We've got to start changing, especially if you're going through the same arguments over and over and over again, and you talk, and you don't do anything. That's not completing the cycle. Mars wants you to complete this cycle that you're in. And it's also, if we look at the underneath this whole chart, it's called need, motivation. So this is expressing your need. Maybe expressing your need for sexual intimacy. Maybe expressing your need for deep emotional connection with your partner. Maybe expressing your need for space, or you're expressing your need for more solitude for yourself, right? More passion. I want more passion. I want more romance in my relationship, right? People are going to start expressing their needs. Maybe a deeper meaning and purpose. Maybe like more depth in our conversations with that 48. I don't want to talk about this surface stuff. I'd rather not talk at all. Maybe my need for more silence in my relationship. Maybe my need for you to listen to me sometimes, right? Like things like that. And if we even go deeper into the chart, it's called meditation. And this is about a quiet mind. So again, it's going back to this 48, right? So this tells me right here, right, that will be the solar eclipse is going to activate the mind, your mind, from the matrix. That it won't be so attached and glommed onto the matrix, which means I'm very limited in how I perceive the world, how I experience the world, that there'll be some detachment and space from that. That's what this says here with the solar eclipse. This is when your mind just goes quiet. Spontaneously, this will happen, even with non-meditators. Their mind just goes quiet and silent. It freaks people out because they're used to that chatterbox going all the time. But out of that quiet mind, this is like the being, right? The depth, the 48, the divine feminine. This is the quiet mind, So answers come too from this quiet mind. New ideas and solutions, right? So that's very, very positive. Okay. So let me look at some comments before we move on. Oh, I didn't go over this, did I? Oh, yeah. Let me look at some comments, then I'll go into the cards. Okay. Satnam, everybody. Okay, not a lot of... Okay. Okay, so let's talk about this then. So, this is the card here. Right here. That correlates to... Remember, these aren't picked intuitively. This goes with the 10 degrees. See that? 10 degrees Libra. So that is the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords. So this is pain and hurt, right? Sorrow. Right here. So remember, this is letting go. It's a letting go. This is a grieving process here, right? With this Three of Swords. And then if we break it down, the Three of Swords is Libra, right, which is the Justice card. And then Saturn, which is the World, correlates to the World in the Major Arcana. So this is an ending. And this fits with that Mars in the 53 too, right? And some fairness, right? Justice is all about coming into balance. So there can be some sorrow here, some pain to deal with, because this is about a letting go, right? Because this is Justice card is also very karmic that I talked about in the last live stream. So closing out a cycle, closing out a cycle. So you don't complete this closing out of a cycle until you deal with this, right? So you don't want to be bringing this energy into your next relationship, right? This is all about relationships, the solar eclipse. It's in Libra. It's in Libra. So it's about letting go of an old way. So it could be an old dynamic within your relationship, or it can actually be that relationship, right? To bring in the new, because you're in Earth School. Right? There's been many, many people that we connect with in on our path of life, right? So before closing out the cycle, you've got to feel this, the deep, deep sorrow, else this will affect your next relationship. So you want to close that out. You want to close that out. So trust whatever is coming up for you during the solar eclipse, like anger and things like that. Don't stuff it down. That anger is showing you something that you need to get to the truth, right? You've got Mars there. You've got Black Moon Lilith there. You've got Mercury, right? Mercury there too, to express, right? And not to go into like, well, I don't sound the Mercury and with the 48.3. Well, I can't express the depth. I've got this depth of emotions, but I can't express them in an articulate way because I've got my ego and my mind judging how I'm expressing. When we get to the truth, when we finally get to the frequency of the truth within us, it's not going to sound pretty at the beginning. It's not going to be this beautiful poetry coming out of your mouth. Your voice is going to be shaking. You're going to be like, when you're priming a pump, it's like, there'll be gaps in between. There'll be like one word and then two words together. And the point is not to judge yourself. It's all about expressing the truth. Expressing the truth. You want to get it out, right? So this flow can happen for you during the eclipse. And this is the purging that we're doing. We got to purge all the years of censorship, censoring ourselves, not speaking the truth, saying no when we meant yes, like things like that. They all have to go because they're inauthentic. They're not true. And the solar eclipse is going to bring that out on a very, very deep emotional level, right? The solar eclipse. So it's closing out a cycle, and this is the last card in the tarot, right? So it correlates to these two, coming into balance, letting go of the karmic contract. Karmic contracts are being ripped up right now. So let's look at the card in the whale. The whale actually is correlates to the 48. So there's also animal totems too that go with each gate. Let's go to the whale. The whale is water, right? Like I said, I'm not familiar with these yet, but I really like them. Okay, there's water. So it's the water element. So that's emotion. And it already connects with the 48, right? And that's the eclipse. That's the eclipse, the 48. Okay. Of course, it's at the very end. Okay. So the desire to delve deeper. That's the whale. Deeper. You want to go deep. And if your partner doesn't want to go deep, they're not going to do very, very well. You go deep. Even if your partner doesn't want to go deep, just say, listen to me then. I want to go deep with this. I want to get to the root of this thing that I've been repeating over and over and over again, right? With that 53. Not completing this cycle. I want to complete this cycle. So desire to delve deeper, profound peace, ancient wisdom. And they say that the whales hold the Akashic records of the earth, the whales and the elephants. The whale and elephant, they're like the same. I feel like the whale is the elephant that lives in the ocean, right? And that the whale is the elephant, that lives in the ocean. So there's profound peace here. There's ancient wisdom. So the whale represents profound emotional health, right? So this is emotional maturity. This is all about emotional maturity. This is about growing up, learning to express your emotions in a healthy way. So whale personalities are not afraid of emotional expression or moving into difficult terrain, meaning conflict. These experiences have enriched them, given them stability, strength, and depth that is rare. Whale energy is usually linked to the feminine forces of compassion and communication. We can depend on whale personalities when all else seems lost and trust them to be a beacon in our darkest hour. So when in balance, the whale is calm, steady, and deeply compassionate. When out of balance, heavy, and slips into the old story. So this to me is to really know that you have depth and there's a way through every block and there's a solution. If you're patient and you wait for that solution, you don't go into the old story. And the old story is the ego mind, listening to the ego mind. Oh, that person never listens to me. They don't value me. They look down upon me, right? That 44.5. That's the old story. I'm doing this for me. I need to speak the truth for me. No attachment to outcome. I need to get this out of me. Because it's killing me. If you don't speak the truth and it's inside you, it will destroy you. It will destroy you. That's the paradox. That truth will destroy you. It will eat at you, right? It will affect your emotional health, anxiety, and worry, and can't turn off the mind, problems sleeping. Could be physical problems. You get all these illnesses you can't seem to get over, right? All these are signs that you're not in alignment with truth. You're not speaking your truth. So to bring it to balance is regular self-care, right? That's what the whale is saying, regular self-care. Yeah. So dealing with this, right? Because even if you're in maybe you are in a healthy relationship. Let's talk to those people too. You're in a healthy relationship means that your partner's committed to their growth, their own spiritual growth. You're growing and evolving together, right? You're not afraid of going through rough waters together. You've done it before, right? Then this can be a movement. You're moving into the next phase of your relationship too, right? You're getting an upgrade, an upgrade. So there's those relationships too, as well. Okay. So let's go to readings, and I'm going to check comments again. And how, whenever I try to shorten these videos, they're always at the same time, so it must be my rhythm. My rhythm. Okay. Okay, so let's go for the old twin flames. Okay, so this is a reading for the solar eclipse for the twin flames, and let me know if you're in a twin flame connection. Okay, and so these are the mirror relationships, your mirror soul relationships here are the twin flames. So they activate this deep healing, deep healing and purging. That's a big word right now, is purge. Purging the not self. That's what the twin flame does, right? By mirroring back to you what needs to be healed and integrated. So you've got the chaser, and then you've got the runner. So they split, right? On the twin flame connection, they split. They're very intense relationships. And then they split. All of them split. They have to go into separation. And so the chaser, right? And then the runner, and then the runner. So this is the polarization of the ego. It's the polarity of the ego. One is a positive charge, one is a negative charge. Positive charge doesn't mean they're better. The chaser's not better than the runner. The runner's not better than the chaser. It's just like this is how they work, right? It's polarity. But it's about purging this not self. Purging this not self. So I did an ego card for what the question on the table is, what keeps me from my power, basically. Keeps me from my power. That 48, right? That depth. What keeps me from that depth inside me? Well, the chaser got the ego card. Excuse me. The ego card is fishing for compliments. Right, so this is the ego dynamic that's keeping you from your power. That the solar eclipse is going to blow out the water, right? And this is about looking for validation outside of yourself. Outside yourself. So this comes from low self-esteem, right? For the chaser. So I'm looking for compliments, fishing for compliments from people. This could be a form of that Venus in the 44.5 of the manipulation. It can be like very manipulative. And maybe you're not aware of it. This is the great thing about the solar eclipse. It will bring to you what you need to integrate and what you need to let go of, right? The solar eclipse, what you need to let go of. And there can be some of this, like I don't feel good about myself just by myself. I need somebody to always be giving me credit and fawning over me, right? Telling me that I'm doing okay. And it comes from a deep insecurity. And the thing is, yes, that is a need, right? That is a need. But I know what I wanted to say. This validation need is, yes, a need to be validated is important, but we were supposed to get that in our childhood. This is a symptom that you didn't get this in your childhood. The people that need constant validation and praise, am I doing okay? Did I make the right decision? Right? Those people, they didn't get the validation that they needed in childhood. And especially if you had a narcissistic parent, right? A narcissistic parent cannot give this to their children, right? Because remember that the ego sees people, even their own children, as objects. You're just an extension of me, right? I'm not going to give you any praise or any validation, right? So there can be a sign of that you need to work on for the solar eclipse. Maybe some of these dynamics are coming up for you. And the thing is, when this ego does receive compliments from others, they don't believe them. They don't believe them. They don't receive them. They don't receive them. They don't take them in. Oh, they didn't really mean that. They're just being nice, like things like that. These are the kind of things that the ego says. So that's what I would look at too for the chaser, is to start validating yourself, right? The way that you speak to yourself, like, oh, I did my best that time, right? I did a good job on that. Like, praise yourself. I really liked how I handled that. And then stop looking outside of yourself, because that's one of the biggest lessons with the chaser, is to stop looking outside yourself. Like, bring all that energy back to you for the solar eclipse. And so what's blocking you, right, from this dynamic is the Four of Wands. You can't see that very clearly. Right, there's the Four of Wands. Well, that's the twin flame card. It's other cards meanings too, but it's in this twin flame contact. So it's the twin flame itself. Connection. That's a block to you really tapping into your power. And that's the Four of Wands. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And there's a fear here. So there's the fear of this connection. And this is when you want to go deeper, right? The 48. You want to go deeper. Right? Like, no, that doesn't make sense. I'm the chaser. I'm chasing this connection all the time. Right? I want this connection. That's on the surface level. But what's deeper is I fear this connection. I don't want this. Part of me, the ego doesn't want this connection. Right? So to look at that, because on the other side, if we go onto the other side of the runner, because these two mirror each other, right? There's the runner. The runner's got the Nine of Pentacles. So the runner, how they're fearing their power is they fear singledom. They fear being single, right? Taking care of themselves. Not depending on their karmic partner or some other person that they're in a codependent relationship with. So they fear that, of being on their own, independent, right? Taking care of themselves, Nine of Pentacles, not needing other people, right? And then you've got this, like the chaser fearing the twin flame connection, fearing being with another person, right? So there's the mirror. Do you see the mirror there? One fears being alone and the other one fears being in relationship. And often the chaser is the one that's alone. Right? It's often the runner that's with the karmic relationship because they're finishing up a cycle. So this is you finishing up a cycle here. So to look at this during this solar eclipse, where am I not receiving this relationship? Where am I bluffing myself, fooling myself that I really want this and I don't? I don't want this, right? Because it brings up deep, deep wounding in both parties. So the guidance here for the chaser is the High Priestess, right there. She would be the divine feminine to me too. She's very mysterious. Because that 48, right? The eclipse is the 48. It's this is dark magic. It's dark magic. This is astrology, right? Astrology is like this too. There's dark magic. There's power here. It's the divine feminine. That's the High Priestess. This is really trusting your intuition, right? It's a deep, deep trust in your intuition. This is trusting that all the answers are inside you in that darkness, in the darkness, chasers. And then it's saying the Eight of Cups, right? And the Eight of Cups is moving on. I'm moving on, right? This way that I'm doing life, that I've been doing life, I need to go. This is emotionally unfulfilling for me, right? So maybe it's to leave this twin flame connection. Not that you can never leave the twin flame connection itself, but you can leave thinking about it, right? To move on to the Nine of Cups. So focusing on what makes you happy, So get clear on that first. It's getting to know yourself. That's what human design's all about too, is getting to know yourself. Know you, right? Make that deep connection with yourself. What makes you happy? Move out of that Eight of Cups. I'm frustrated with this. And listen to your intuition. That's what the High Priestess is saying. The solutions. So here's the thing, right? You ask the question, Chaser. What makes me happy? Maybe you have no idea what makes you happy because you've been so programmed and conditioned to focus on other people. You just ask the question, what makes me happy? And you close your eyes and that's you putting that bucket down in the well. And then let the bucket come up, right? That's your intuition. And what will come up is the answer, a solution. And then you act from that place, right? You act from that place. Okay. So if we go to I'll do the animal cards after this. So then we've got the runner. The runner's got anger. Solar plexus, or the solar eclipse, letting go of anger. So this anger in terms of the ego is a conflict. The runner has a conflict in their mind. So this can manifest as headaches, migraine headaches. This all means conflict, a conflict in your mind, right? And so the conflict can come up during the solar eclipse because you got Black Moon Lilith there, you got Mercury, you got the Sun and the Moon all on the 48. You got Mars squaring those, right? About completing a cycle, right? You're tired of like, oh my God, this pattern. I've been in this pattern. Maybe all my relationships as the runner. I've been in this pattern with people, right? And trying to live up to others' expectations. Where did this come from? I can never please anybody. Everybody's disappointed with me. This is the runner dynamic. They're never satisfied with me. I'm never good enough, right? I feel inadequate, right? And there's that inadequacy would come from this fear of the Nine of Pentacles, of being alone. I'm inadequate. I can't take care of myself. I'm always dependent on other people. I don't know any other way, right? Well, you got to go deeper, runners. You got to go deeper. Where is the root? Where's the root of these dynamics? Because the anger is going to come up and you don't want to repress it. This is powerful energy that's coming up for this solar eclipse, right? So you want to go deep. You want to get to the root. And the root will always go back to your childhood, right? And the inadequacy and the insecurity will go to your childhood. And this is you. You learned this. This is your conditioning, that I have to be focused on another person, right? Trying to get something, right? Focused on the other person, trying to please them, trying to live to their expectations, being the chameleon. I got to be the person they want me to be. This is a role, right? And what was it? It was to get their unconditional love. That's what you're really looking for, your unconditional love. And what are you learning in the twin flame connection through all this like crazy intensity? Is that the unconditional love is already inside you. It's already inside you. You don't need to be looking outside of yourself anymore for it, right? So again, it's a mirror. It's about bringing your focus back to yourself, right? As the chaser or the runner, See, I mix them up because they are one. And the thing with these karmic relationships, because we're wrapping this up, right? Twin flames. These karmic relationships are closing out. And they're going to come with this Three of Swords. This is the Eclipse is activating this Three of Swords. It's going to come with a lot of pain and sorrow. And that pain and sorrow comes from your childhood. It's that little child. It's that little girl, that little boy that didn't get unconditional love from their parent. They got a lot of conditions that they had to do this for them. They had to behave in this way. They had to be like this other person. They had to be anything but themselves, basically, right? And that can come up with a lot of grief. And that's the Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords is underneath all that anger that's coming up. So go deep. Don't just stay in the anger. Go deep. There's a deeper, deeper root. And then you close out the cycle, because you want to close out the cycle with Mars squaring the eclipse. Close out the cycle by feeling the grief, right? Feeling the sorrow. And then you've completed the cycle. You don't need to be in that situation anymore. And what will come to you is clarity, right? Like, oh, I've been wasting my time trying to please this person, and I'll never be pleased, right? Never, ever. I'm just wasting my energy doing this in this dynamic. Then the clarity comes. The glasses come up. The rose-colored glasses come off. You see everything in truth. That's the eclipse wants you to be in truth, wants you to be on your path, on your spiritual path. Okay, so we talked about the fear of being alone, which is stopping you from claiming your power. So look at that too in terms of your depth. It's like, oh, I really fear being alone because I have this strong belief that I can't survive on my own. That 48, it brings up so much inadequacy and insecurity in me. And then the guidance for you is the sun, right? The sun, the happiest card in the tarot. So this is like what makes you happy. And the sun is shining light on these dynamics so that you can see them, right? This is the sun. Happy and content. So again, just what I said with the to the chaser, with that 48, you want to put your bucket down in the well and like, what makes me happy? Maybe you're in the same boat. It's like, I don't know myself. I played this role in childhood and I play it in my adulthood. I don't know who I am. I'm like spread too thin, right? Like barely any butter, and I'm trying to put it on the toast, and I'm spread way too thin trying to please everybody else. I'm in this role of people pleaser. What makes me happy? I seem to know what makes other people happy, but I don't know what makes me happy. Then you ask yourself the question. You stop in silence, right? Because the silent mind, right? What do I need? That's the motivation too. What do I need? And then you drop that down into the well, and the sun will illuminate that, right? Well, maybe I need my partner to accept me. Acceptance as I am, right? Maybe I need that. Maybe I need deeper emotional connection, right? You're going to learn all of this stuff. Need. And then you trust that answer will come to you, will come to the surface. Okay. And then the overall energy for the tarot is death. Death. So this is like a huge rebirth, right? This is Scorpio. This is Pluto. This is like ending. This is the total ending of a cycle, like ready to be reborn here. So these are important connections here. And then let's look at the animal cards. And why did I pick the frog again? Oh, these were intuitively picked, the frog. So let's start with the chaser with the frog right here. Right there, the frog. And that is in water. And that makes sense. because, whoops, that's fire, frog. Because the chasers are evolving through water, through the water element, right? Through the emotional body, Okay, so they're going to switch and blend too, because it's all about balance, coming into balance. Your energy's coming into balance, chaser and runner. But the chasers are evolving first through the water element, the emotional body, right? So the ego death is happening there, right? The ego that's connected to this emotional body. This is feeling victimized by your emotions. That's what you're letting go of. I'm not victimized by my emotions. And then the runner is the owl, and the owl is the air element, right? And the runner is learning through the air element, the mental body, so their belief system, right? And this is letting go of these strong belief systems and realizing just how much their mind has control over them and their whole perception of the world. There's no real room for true spirituality when you're in the mental body or fully in the emotional body either, when you're victimized by your emotions or victimized by the mind. So I thought that was interesting with the owl and the frog, right? To echo that. So let's look at the frog. So the frog is clearing, cleansing, and healing. Clearing, cleansing, and healing. And it's the frog and the water element are almost inseparable. The frog spends its first months of life entirely within this healing element and then emerges to the rest on land. But no matter how earthly the frog becomes, its need for cleansing and rejuvenation is regular. Frogs tend to become overworked and undernourished, so it's vital that such sensitive creatures practice self-care. Self-care. Another message for self-care. Frogs tend to be overworked and undernourished. Okay, so this card serves as a reminder that water helps cleanse us, forgive, and release. Time to dive in. Frogs aren't meant to carry a heavy load, right? So there you are as a frog. You're moving on, right? And he is actually moving into the water. Let's see. Let's see it. Moving near the water, right? You can see the water and then the mountains there. So when in balance, so this is about letting go of a heavy load. Maybe you've been carrying this twin flame connection. Maybe you've been carrying it, the more doing the work for the twin flame connection, because you're both connected, right, through the soul. But maybe you've been doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Well, it's time to pull back. And when you pull back, that the twin flame has to step up. The other one has to step up and do their work, right? There's this balance that happens. So when in balance, your energy is clear. You have an enthusiasm for life. When out of balance, you feel depleted, like you're running on empty. And to bring into balance, go to a lake, a river, an ocean, or a bath, things like that to come into balance. Yeah. Okay, and then let's look at the other side. We've got the owl. So this also, the frog, goes with the 10th gate. The 10th gate here. And this is about natural, just being your natural self. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to see something here. Okay. 9, 10. Yeah, just with the 10, I know what I wanted to say here. There's the fear of the twin flame for the chaser, the twin flame connection. But if you look deeper at this, because it's the 10th gate, the frog and the 10 go together. This is about a fear of losing your identity. Losing your identity. So this is an ego fear that I'll lose my identity within the twin flame connection. And this is who I think I am, right? Who my ego is telling me I am. There's a deep, deep fear of losing that for the chasers. And fear that the twin flame will take away your freedom. Will take away your freedom. So those are some things to bring up too during the solar eclipse. Yeah. Okay. So let's do the owl and then we'll wrap this up. So the owl, interestingly enough, goes with the 48. The whale goes with the 48, but also the owl goes with the 48. And this is the white owl. This is Harry Potter. Remember when Harry Potter, when the owl started bringing the messages in the first Harry Potter when he's a little kid and he didn't realize he was a wizard? Right? The white owls were the messengers. They're the messengers. So this is abundance, it's clairvoyant, it's treasures. So the owl is a mysterious, I think the runner got the owl last time too. The owl is mysterious and otherworldly creature found in folklore from east to west. The white owl in this particular deck is the companion of the goddess Lakshmi. She's the goddess of wealth. In beauty and good fortune, she represents. When the owl card appears, it's an omen that a treasure or a boon is on the way, either spiritual or material in a material form. With owl wisdom on your side, you'll see and know exactly what to do with this boon, how it can further your dharma, your soul purpose, and bring abundance to the world. That's the wellspring of treasures. Itself is infinite, and that fits with this money, right? The money channel here, too, about your resources and money. Okay. So when in balance, you're generous, trusting and secure, right? You're resourceful, right? That goes with this 48. You're secure. And when you're out of balance, you're fighting about money. There's fighting about money, and you're in scarcity consciousness. And so to bring into balance is to make an offering. So to give, right? To give. That's how you come into balance. Because when you're doing that, you're showing the universe, look, that's where tithing comes from. From religion. It's a deep spiritual law. The more you give, the more you receive. So tithing, right? Give 20% of your income, 20% of your time. There's a reason for that. It's just religion took over and it's like, well, you need to give to us. Tithing is like you give to whomever you choose, right? To whatever you choose, you give to. And this could not just be, it's perfect if you're having money problems, is to give money. It's to give money. It's trusting. And it will come back. Yeah. Okay. So that's what you got for the solar eclipse, twin flames. And then, okay. Yeah, Lori said surface chaser with deep down fear of connection. That's right. Because the chaser can be so in that energy of not really looking at the reality, like bring it into reality. Well, what would this look like if we actually did connect, right? If we where we were called by the divine to actually be in a relationship, what would that look like? Then the fears start to come up when you make it practical. And it's almost like the chaser is switching into the runner. Because I've heard of that happen too. Like the chaser will turn into the runner will turn into the chaser. Because it's all about balancing the energy. Yeah. But it's remembering that you don't, as long as you close up this cycle right, with Mars in the squaring the eclipse, then you're not going to bring that into the next relationship, right? And it won't hold anyway. Twin flame relationship will not hold if you're bringing in any of that codependent, fear-based, patterns. Okay. So let's go for the generators. Okay. Let's go for the generators. And I think I'll do an ego card here. So this is all about the solar eclipse generators. And there's the chart for the solar eclipse. Okay. So we're going to do this. Okay. I'm going to leave these out. Okay. So we're going to pick a card, an ego card for this, for the generators. So listen to the beginning if you haven't. And so it's the 48th gate. It's the gate of depth. And it's about trusting that you have the resources, the inner resources that you need. The solutions you need are already inside you. Okay? And it's going to bring up relationship dynamics. So unhealthy relationship dynamics. Things that need to be brought to the light. Generators. So be sure to watch that. The beginning of the video. Okay. So this is about you stepping into your power. Okay. And what's the ego that's affecting the generators for the solar eclipse? What's the ego? Got two. And then, what's the guidance? Let's see what guidance we have for the generators. Okay. What's the guidance for the generators? What's the guidance for the generators? Okay. Okay, interesting. So the generators for this solar eclipse, what ego dynamic is up for you that you're here to clear. Remember, solar eclipses are about, and it's activating the self node, something that you're letting go of, right? Something that you're letting go of. And, right, which is around your relationships and what's keeping you out of your power. So you got the lash out card and then the defensive. So this is ego. And then you got the 7 of Wands right here for guidance. So to me, this is major confrontation, right? We've got Venus trining Mars, right? Trining Mars, these two energies, which is relationship, Venus, Mars. It's going to be around resources, 2045. So money. And then Mars is squaring the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury, and Black Moon Lilith. Right? That's the powerful punch here. And it's about letting go of something so that something new can come in, right? So Mars is going to bring up anger. Black Moon Lilith is going to bring up anger too. And it's going to be not something you can repress and push down. So the ego, maybe this is an old dynamic for you that has to go, and that means to lash out, right? So if you got a second line in your chart, any second lines? If you look at your natal chart, if you have second lines, especially if you have a Mars, your red side, this is the natal chart, but this is the transit chart. The natal chart, there'd be a red side. And if your red Mars has a second line, like a number, like 48.2, a second line, this will be very applicable for you. So this is lashing out, right? Lashing out at your partner, And this is because you're getting emotionally triggered, right? Emotionally triggered. So maybe as a generator, right, in your relationships, you're able to repress your emotions, meaning you don't get triggered very often. You're going to get triggered in the solar eclipse because the trigger is about getting you to the truth, right, of who you are, where you're supposed to be. Are you on the right path? Are you with the right people? Are you in the right relationship, right? So this is about pushing people away, right? Lash out. I'm going to lash out. I'm going to explode on that other person. This is the ego, right? Because you're trying to control. You're trying to control that other person. That other person is making me feel this way. And it's not true. That's what the ego is telling you. Those emotions are coming up. They've been in you all along, right? Years and years and years, those emotions. They've probably been with you since childhood. That's how deep, right? This is 48. The gate of depth. This is how deep this goes, right? So the ego has you lash out. It's to push. I'm going to push that other person away. Or I'm going to give them the silent treatment, right? Which means I'm going to leave the room. I'm just going to leave the room. Things get too heavy, I'm going to leave the room and then give them the silent treatment and not talk to them. Wait for them to come to me and talk to me, right? Manipulative. This is Venus, 44.5. It's the keynote of a manipulation. I need to keep you in your place, right? So this could be coming at you too, right? Maybe you have a partner that plays these games, right? It works both ways, right? It's a mirror. So this is like exploding in fits of rage. And is that mature? We're not judging here, right? 53. Mars in the 53 is about completing cycles. It's about maturing and developing as a spiritual being. It's about becoming emotionally healthy, emotionally mature, right? This dynamic, this lashing out, and I don't want to deal with this. That's immaturity. You don't go through the cycle. Maybe it's a cycle for you, right? Maybe you're with these people, right? Just see where it fits, right? This may be you or maybe the partner you're with. And if this isn't resonating with you, listen to the reflector reading. Okay, and then we've got defensive on top of that. So lashing out, so it's a defense pattern. Right? So the ego is like they don't understand me. I can't trust anybody. You can use your intellect. Right? This is using your intellect. Maybe I'm all calm. I'm not going to lash out. Maybe this is how I repress my emotions. Maybe this is my emotional defense pattern as I use my intellect. Right? I use that 44.5. I manipulate people with my words. right? I've got somebody in front of me that's all emotional, and I need to control that because I can't feel my emotions. They're triggering my emotions right now, right? Then I'm going to manipulate through my words to keep them in their place. This is the 44.5. I'm going to use the intellect. I'm going to do the turnaround. They're going to feel guilty for even bringing up anything with me. They're right. I'm going to make them feel guilty. Now detach from this, right? This isn't you. This is the ego. This is how the ego works. Right? And turn the argument over the other person. There's nothing wrong. I'm totally fine. This is your problem. What do you think? Why do you think you have this problem? Why is this about you? And we need to remember in relationship, it's not your problem, my problem. It's our problem. That's the healthy relationship. If somebody in this relationship is having a problem, it means it's our problems. It means that one of the parties is expressing the problem. Doesn't mean that I don't have it. It just means that they're the one that's expressing it for both of us. So it's not my problem, your problem, it's our problem. So if you're with a person that's completely identified with their egos, you're not going to get anywhere with this, right? This is about closing out a cycle, a karmic cycle. Generators. So you're either dealing with this on the external, or you have this yourself, or a subtle version of it, right? That you want to clear up. And then the guidance here is the Seven of Wands. So this is about learning the balance. Okay, there's the lashing out, and that's coming from the ego. The defensive pattern, that's coming from the ego. But the Seven of Wands is different. This is standing up for yourself. So if you're on the other side, like your partner is doing this stuff, right? Being defensive, walking out of the room, giving you the silent treatment, then the Seven of Wands is like, this is healthy self-esteem. It's like standing up for yourself, right? Which is like, I need to speak, and you need to stay in the room, and you need to listen, right? My needs, remember this is all about need, this chart too. My needs are this. I need you to sit in the room. I need you to listen to me when I speak, right? I need this. These are my boundaries, right? This is my boundaries. That you can't lash out at me, right? That we need to take a walk together or something. Or you need to go take a walk and come back, right? Like you'll know what to do because it's the 48, right? The 48 is like the solutions are already inside you, because maybe you're like, I don't know how to deal with this person. It's like this dynamic keeps coming up over and over and over again. Well, you go to this 48. This is a solar eclipse. This is depth. It's asking yourself the question, okay, what's the solution to this? And then up will come a solution for you that's perfect for you and your relationship. So this is about protecting yourself, like protecting yourself. And this is like knowing what your line in the sand is. What's my line? My line is like my partner doesn't start screaming at me and calling me names and telling me it's all my problem. Maybe that's my line. My line is them repeating themselves over and over and over again. We get nowhere, right? That Mars in the 53.1 wants you completed in the cycle, right? It's about acting. I'm done with this talking. We need to see action now, right? So it's really going to bring up relationship stuff, right? And you're going to see the truth. Generators, you're going to see the truth in your relationship. So just flip it, right? What I'm saying, I'm not saying that this is all you and you're the one lashing out, but I'm also saying that it could be you too, right? To look at both, Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's the generators here. And let's go back here. Okay. And let's go for the manifesting generators. So we're talking about the solar eclipse manifesting generators, which is activating the 48. That's the gate of depth, right? And so the sun and the moon are there, of course, because it's the new moon, but also Mercury is there, and Black Moon Lilith is there too. And you've got Mars squaring, right? So this means tension in your relationships. So this means no more talking yourself out of your feelings. The feelings are going to come up. So the things that you've maybe buried, manifesting generators, are going to come to the surface. And it's all about you leaving behind feelings of inadequacy, feeling that you're not good enough, feeling that you can't survive on your own, things like that. Okay. So let's do some cards here. And this is the solar eclipse cards. So completing a karmic cycle. But feeling the pain. Because the thing with the solar eclipse is activating the self node, which means that you have to give up something to allow something new, solar, to come in. Okay. And this energy ripples 6 months to a year. Okay. Okay. And let's see what ego card we've got for the manifesting generators. Oh, good one. Do another one. What's the other one for the manifesting generator? Oh, interesting. And then let's do the guidance. Jeez. Okay. Okay, what's the guidance for the manifesting generators, please? What's the guidance for the manifesting generators? Okay. So let's bring this back here. Okay, for the manifesting generators, you got the Ego Doom card. This is a very good card for you, bad card for the ego. And then the Judgment card, and then the Nine of Wands. So manifesting generators are feeling tired. The MGs are feeling tired, exhausted. This is the wounded warrior here, right? Okay. But the Nine of Wands says to persevere, to persevere. Persevere, be strong. You're almost there. Yeah. And resilient, be resilient. And you're still standing. The Nine of Wands is still standing. But he's not gone belly up, right? He knows that there's more challenges to come, right? And near success. Okay, so ego doom. Ego doom means that you're about to find a big ego trap. Big ego trap. So MGs, the ego, is that voice in your head that you believe is you, and it's your not self. Right? with the cross of planning, we've had to create this not self that's not us. And it's very tiring to try to keep this not self alive, right? So the not self has to go. So this card is saying you're going to discover a very important ego, not self, this solar eclipse that you're going to let go of. You're going to let go of it. Yeah. And this is coming from the work that you've been doing. So this is saying that the MGs have been doing a lot of spiritual work. They've been doing a lot of inner work, right? Shadow work. They've been doing all of that. Inner child work. They've been doing that. And this is showing you that you're about to let something really important to go during the solar eclipse. So you have to become, the warning here with the ego doom card is as you come closer and closer to the solar eclipse, that ego will come out swinging, right? It gets more and more vicious. That's how it works. So it can come, like this is the devil card in the tarot, right? So it comes out with fears and doubts and nightmare stories and anxieties and things like that. Problems, right? These problems, attacks, they call them attacks. Like they're like mind attacks. You have to know that it's just because you're coming closer and closer into your power, right? That 48. You're coming more and more into your power. This is your divine feminine. Your divine feminine. Yeah. Right? So just be aware of that and not listen to it. And certainly not make your decisions from it either, right? So this is the ego trap right here, right? Because it says that you got to pick another one so you know what it is. Well, it's judgment. And that's the self node down here, right? The self node is in the 18. That's the shadow of judgment. It's the shadow of judgment. So you're letting this go. So maybe you've had a lot of fear of judgment in your relationships. I fear judgment in my relationships. So if you look at, like, I'm just thinking of this now, like karmic relationships, as your karmic relationship comes to a close, this is what's happening. You got the world in justice, right? Justice is karmic contracts. It can represent karmic contracts. As this comes to a close, I think I talked about this before, right? As the karma starts to dissolve between you, it's not holding you together anymore in terms of your relationship. As that karma dissolves, at the same time, the lights start coming on. The lights come on, and then you start to see that other person in truth. It's happened to me quite a few times. You start to see that other person. And I remember thinking, like, why didn't I see this before? It's like, it was amazing to me. How could I be blinded to this? And now I'm seeing this dynamic so clearly. What was wrong with me? Well, you can't blame yourself. That's the thing with karma. It puts this veil on you. It's like a veil, right? That's on you, and you can't see clearly. You can't see that person clearly. No matter how hard you try, you could have a person like a close friend that comes into your life and says, "Don't you see that dynamic?" And you're like, "No." You get really defensive. What are you talking about? Well, the veil is on you because you need to learn a lesson, a very important karmic lesson, MGs, right? So the lights will start to come on, and it's around judgment, right? So maybe you were fearing, right? The judgment of the karmic relationship, right? Their judgment. And then you start to have past life memories of like, oh, he was the one that was interrogating me during the witch burnings, like something like that, right? Like he was the one that was telling me to turn my back and cut my hair and calling me evil and projecting on that. And he basically had my life in his hands, right? Life and death in my hands. Of course, that's going to bring up deep fear. within you and you're unconscious, but you're veiled because you don't remember that past life, but you've got this unconscious fear of like his judgment towards me because, right, it's an echo from your past life. So it can work like that, right? With these karmic relationships, it's like you've been together lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Well, this fear of judgment has kept you out of your power, out of your divine feminine. This is the 48. This is the divine feminine, the 48. Deep, deep fear of the divine feminine because you were persecuted, right? For expressing that. So, where did I want to go with this? With the judgment. Okay. I feel like I just took this turn, took the ramp off the highway, and now I'm trying to get back on the highway. Okay, so in terms of personally, so you're going to be letting go of this fear of judgment, right? Fear of judgment. It's like, you know what? I'm going to speak up anyway. I'm going to speak up anyway. I'm going to speak my truth, right? Because you've got many like transits here, like Mars is squaring the 48, Mercury in the 48, right? And you got Mars trining Venus and Black Moon Lilith there. Black Moon Lilith is not fearful, okay? Black Moon Lilith is not fearful of the masculine, the patriarchal masculine energy. She's not fearful of that. She'll come ripping and screaming through you, right? To speak your truth. And so what's going to happen with the solar eclipses, MGs, is you're going to transcend this fear, this deep, deep fear of judgment. This is what's holding you back. Ego doom. Holding you back out of your power. Holding you back from your divine feminine. Holding you back from that power. There's a lot of power here in the divine feminine for you, MGs, right? So, and not falling for the manipulation. Venus is in the 44.5. That's all about manipulation. That's about keeping you in your place, right? And you don't put Black Moon Lilith in her place, right? Right? So you're not going to suffer this manipulation, getting manipulated through the mind and through words, right? You're going to trust these emotions coming through you, right? This 48, the deep, deep well, you're going to trust what comes up from that deep, deep well. Okay, so you've got the 9 of Wands for your guidance, and 9 of Wands is to be persistent. This is a battle that you need to face. That's what this says. And you're in terms of your relationships for the solar eclipse. So something can be let go, right? To not give up. That's the message that I'm getting. Not give up. Not give up and really trust in your divine feminine. Trust that deep, deep well inside you and trust the emotions that are coming up. Speak your truth, right? Speak the truth. And don't go into like it's got a right Mercury in the 48.3. It's like, I'm not articulate enough. The poetry's not coming out of my mouth. It's like, no, but the truth is, and sometimes it's messy. Often it's messy when you start speaking the truth for the first time. But you don't want to let this fear of judgment cloud you, right? So ask the 48. Ask the question, where does this deep fear come from? And close your eyes and be patient. And the answer will come. The answer will come to you. And clarity will come. Lights are going to start coming on for people in relationships. And they're going to really see who that other person is, who they represent in your life, right? And you want to get the lesson. You want to complete, right? Mars in the 53. You want to complete the lesson so you're not bringing this in to your next relationship. Okay? Anything else for the MGs? No. Okay. So let's go for the The manifestors. Pick a card for the manifestors. The manifestors. So this is the solar eclipse manifestors. It's activating the 48. And I would suggest that you go and watch the beginning where you can get a full account of what this energy is for you. Very impactful. This is the last eclipse of the year. It's all about getting you on your dharmic path, on your destiny path. Okay. So let's see what we got for the manifestors. What's the ego telling the manifestors? What's the ego telling the manifestors? What's the ego telling the manifestor? Do. Oh, there we go. Not two. Oh. And then what's the guidance? Okay. What's the guidance for the manifestors? What's the guidance for the manifestors for the solar eclipse? Okay. Okay, the manifestors. For this solar eclipse, you got the go along, get along. Can't believe you're getting that one, manifestors. That's totally a not self for the manifestors. And then rolls. And then the Three of Cups. You got the Three of Cups. So, this is like, this solar eclipse is going to really activate, I would say, look at your friendships with that Three of Cups, where you're playing a role as a manifestor. Maybe you're pretending that you're not a manifestor, which means you're pretending to be a generator, which means you're waiting, right? Waiting for something to respond to. And then the go along and get along. This is like total hiding. I'm surprised you didn't get the hiding card. And this is saying the ego is telling you that you're safer in a group, right? And remember, the other types do not trust manifestors. It's at an unconscious level. They don't trust your aura, closed and repelling aura. In looking to other people, right? Looking to other people, well, everybody else is doing it, so it must be okay, right? Everybody else is jumping off the cliff. It must be safe then, right? This is the this is the ego, and it's about group ego. So to me, it's like something's going on with your group of friends, right? With the Three of Cups, your friendships, your communities, where you're hiding in a role, right? You're playing small. You're playing small, especially if you're a female manifestor. You know, Sadie Hawkins Day every day. Sadie Hawkins Day for a manifestor. This is about, you got to get into your power with the 48. Right? So this is your divine feminine power. This is the dark void. It's dark and mysterious. This is where your answers come from, right? Your solutions come from. This is saying that you need to go inside and stop looking to your friendships, right? To your community and stuff, because they're giving you bad advice here. But you've got this solar eclipse happening with these relationships, because it's not just romantic relationships, right? It's close friendships too. You got Mars squaring this, right? It's going to really bring up feelings of inadequacy and insecurity, and you're going to let that go, right? because you had to play a role. What it says is you had to play a role in childhood, and that was pretending that you were not powerful, pretending you weren't a powerful manifestor, right? Pretending that you were small and you're like everybody else, right? So you're letting this go now. And again, I talked about this. I forgot what other type I talked about this, but these strategies we use to get love as children, right? So there's no power. So the solar eclipse is going to blow your not self out of the water. So really trust your anger. This is when you want to trust your anger as a manifestor. This is not, right? That your anger is showing you where you're not self, right? Where I'm playing a role, where I'm really thinking this and feeling this, but I'm pretending that I don't, right? The not self. The anger is going to show you where you're not self. Yeah. Okay. So let's go for the projectors. The projectors. Maybe it was the projectors that were exhausted. Do you think it was after the last eclipse? Because we're non-energy types. That energy hit me like a ton of bricks the next day on Wednesday. So tired from the eclipse energy. Nauseous and dizzy. Like really, really tired. Like it felt like in the middle of the night and it was the middle of the day. You know, where it just hits you and you got to go deep, deep asleep. Lucky for me, I didn't really have a lot of responsibilities that day. So I could rest. But we're all getting an upgrade, and it's all about purging right now. Purging, not self. Okay. So let's see what we got. What's the ego? What's the ego that we should be aware of for this solar eclipse? What ego for the projectors? Which one for the projectors? Oh. Looks like the projectors are still in the dark night of the soul energy. Remember the lunar eclipse was activating the 36, and that's the dark night of the soul. Okay. And then what's the guidance? The guidance for the projectors. Queen of Pentacles. I feel like another one maybe. We need more guidance. Oh yeah. Okay. Interesting for the projectors. So you got the rejection card. Rejection. You got the Who's Your Daddy card. Who's your daddy? And then you got the Queen of Pentacles. And you got the Devil. The Devil card. Okay. Very interesting. Let's break this down for the projectors. Okay. So again, projectors, we've got the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, and Black Moon Lilith activating this 48. Right? So this is the gate of depth. It's the gate of depth. So it's realizing this one, the 48, is that everything you need is inside you. This is the dark feminine. It's dark and mysterious here in the 48. Everything's inside me. All solutions are there. But they're not coming from the mind. The depth is already inside you. And if you have a lot of depth as a projector, especially if you're right, if you got the arrows, right, are pointing right, at least 3 parts right, you know that you've got a lot of depth. This reminds me too of the 48 when you're 3 parts right. Okay, and then you've got Mars wanting to complete a cycle, the 53, right? The gate of maturation, wanting you to mature, to let go of something so something new can begin, and it's squaring this, right? So all those feelings of inadequacy have to come up and be cleared for the solar eclipse, right? Okay, so there can be problems because Mercury is here in the 3rd line, so there can be problems communicating that depth, right? So that can bring up inadequacy too. And I noticed that if you guys know if you're individual or not, you have to look at your, like this is tribal. This is a tribal channel. But if you look at your channels in your chart, if you're an individual, you've got to learn to communicate from that depth. I remember Ross said that. I'm a pure individual. Both my channels are individual. And he said, as an individual, you really have to learn to communicate your depth. And I feel like that would go for all projectors. No, doesn't matter if you're collective, tribal, or a mixture of all 3, right? Is that you need to learn to communicate. You need to communicate, learn to communicate as a projector. Your wisdom, right? Whatever your specialty is. Okay, so you got the rejection card. Right? So, confrontations in your relationships with this Mars in the 48, right? Talking about your needs, what your needs are, right? That's the motivation of this chart is what do I need in my life? What do I need as a projector type? Maybe you need your partner to recognize you. Right, recognize. And maybe they don't really know. I know this is cheating a little bit with in terms of your relationships, but you can do it in a way, right? You're not demanding, you must recognize me, but it's like expressing your needs, you know, how you could say, like, this is how I work as a projector, that I need to be recognized, I need to be invited, right? So you need to recognize me. You need to, and this is how our energy works together, right? So if you're doing that with a generator, say you're with a generator partner, it's like communicating that, like, this is what I need, right? And then the generator can respond or not, can respond with a yes or no. Yes, I can do that. I didn't know that about you. I didn't know about this human design stuff. So they're expressing your needs in this way can bring up feelings of rejection, right? Feelings of rejection. Well, I'll be rejected by that other person, that relationship, right? I'll be rejected. So one of the dynamics that the ego says is, oh, well, I'm going to reject them first, right? This is how the ego works. It doesn't want to deal with, remember the card for the solar eclipse is the three of swords. The 3 of Swords is pain, right? Pain and sorrow. So there's the ego. It's like, I don't want you to feel this because there's a maturation, right? With the 53, the gate of maturation with Mars activating this in the solar eclipse, right? Don't want to feel this pain, which goes back to childhood. So I'm just going to reject that other person, right? I'm going to reject them first before they reject me. So this would be like pushing people away, right? Pushing people away. Not even expressing, just walking away, right? All this is going down. It's going to come at you too as a projector. This Mars squaring the moon, the sun, black moon, Lilith, and Mercury. It's going to affect you on the other side too. So maybe like, I'm just going to walk away. right? I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to deal with this because I fear that if I really express myself and my needs, right, if I get vulnerable, then they'll reject me. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to try, right? So what you're doing is you're rejecting a part of yourself. This vulnerable part of you, that's you. So it's rejecting an important part of you. That's what you're doing. And then with the Who's Your Daddy card, this is your choice. Am I going to follow that ego, or am I going to follow my intuition, my soul, right? The impulses of my soul? Well, who am I going to choose, right? So the ego is never going to want you to join. And this is the thing with the projectors. Out of all the types, they're the ones that are most focused on the other. And this isn't a codependent thing. It's just how your energy works as a projector. So you're rejecting your projector. You're rejecting your projector self when it's like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't even want to show up. I don't even want to show up because I'm fearing this rejection. That's you choosing your ego. Your ego's giving you some bad advice here, right? So the projector needs the other. So the most sacred relationship right now are the MGs and the Gs and the projector. They need each other. They need each other. The MGs and the Gs need the projectors for guidance. The projectors need the MGs and Gs to guide. Okay, so and then we've got the guidance here with the rejection in there. Okay. So really look at that, right? Because this is the gate of depth. It's like, go to the root. Where does this rejection come from? Right? Maybe just entertain it in your mind. Maybe your ego is like, that's full. That's not the case. I'm not like that. I don't have that. That's called denial, right? But just for a moment, like entertain it. Like, okay, maybe I do have that. Maybe I have that fear of rejection. And then you ask the question with the 48. That's you putting the question in the bucket, right? And then you let it go down into the well, the deep, deep void. And then you wait for the answer. And the answer could come through an image or words of like, oh, I see what I do in relationships to avoid this rejection, right? I'm not vulnerable. I don't express my needs, right? I don't express my needs. I deny them. I don't really need that. I don't really need that, right? And now you're being forced to with this solar eclipse. And you may be surprised that the other person could be very, like, will value you and respect you, right? And love you, like real love, not emotional love, to want to hear what your needs are. It's like, oh, I didn't know that about you. Yeah, I can totally do that. I'll try to do that, right? This is you. So it can bring up, when you do this, when it's like, okay, I'm going to express my needs, then it can bring up these feelings of rejection, right? And that's the work. That's what's to be cleared. That's what's to be cleared. So it's about getting honest in your relationships as a projector, because you're here to work with the other, right? You're here to really help and guide the other, but you need to help yourself first. And that's like, this is what I need. You're not a doormat as a projector. And projectors are, they're not, they're not like reflectors, like total one-offs, but they're rare. They're rare, 20% of the planet, right? Not a lot of people know. They project a lot on projectors. That's what the other types do. So then you've got the Queen of Pentacles as guidance. And guidance with the devil. Let's talk about the devil. This is about letting go of that ego. Because to me, the ego equals the devil in the tarot. They're the same. The devil is the bully. That's the ego is the bully. So to me, it's about the guidance is about to let that go, to let that go. Stop listening to the ego. That's telling you stories that, oh, that person will reject me if I ask for this. They'll laugh at me. That's another way of rejection, or they'll tease me, or they just won't do it, right? All you have to do is just express, and then what they do is their business, right? So that's letting go of the devil, the fear, the doubt, right? Because whenever the devil card comes up in a tarot reading, it means that something is going to be let go. Even that, because the devil is always on scene, right? This energy is always on scene. It's invisible. It works in the invisible realm. But as soon as it shows itself in a tarot reading, it means that it's ready to be released. It's showing you where you're limited, right? And then you've got the Queen of Pentacles, which is generous, caring, nurturing, right? Good business sense, welcoming, grounded in herself, the Queen. So this may be coming from your mother just because it's the Queen of Pentacles. This dynamic of rejection could be coming from your mother. Like the origins, because we're about depth. Where does this come from? Where does this rejection dynamic come from? Just because it's the devil and the devil in the Queen of Pentacles. So this could be the narcissistic mother. This is something to look at with the solar eclipse. So selfish, jealous, insecure, materialistic, intolerant, self-absorbed, envious. And so I would look at that too, projectors. Maybe you had a narcissistic mother, right? To let this go. And this is this fear of rejection, right? You were rejected by your mother. You could be rejected by your mother. That's the worst kind of rejection. That's the Chiron wound. That's the Chiron wound. I have a whole webinar series on this. The Chiron wound is, that was the first rejection, right? Chiron was rejected by his mother and given away, abandoned by the mother, right? So this is like an archetype, right? Deep, wounding. So that I feel that that's the advice for the projectors, is to really look at mother wound, your Chiron, and to let this go, this fear of rejection. Because you can't bring this into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, right? It's going to make you feel inadequate and insecure. And it's just a matter of making a choice. I'm not going to listen to my ego anymore. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to believe any of the stories it's telling me. It's old. This is about letting go of old dynamics. Okay? Because the 48th is the divine, right? Your divine feminine. That's where all the answers are there. Okay. So let's finish it off with the reflectors. Okay. And the reflectors is kind of the wrap up. So yes, it's for the reflector type, but it's the wrap up for all the other types too. Okay. So let's see here. We're going to see the reflectors. So please let us know if you're a reflector in the chat or the comment box if you're watching the replay. So this is all on the solar eclipse. It's activating the black magic. That's the 48. The gate of depth. Okay, so what's the ego? What's the ego for the reflector and the other types? And do we have another card besides revenge? Okay. So this is about closing up a cycle. Mars is squaring the sun, the moon, Mercury, and Black Moon Lilith. Okay. So that's the 50. Mars is activating the 53. Okay. And what do we have? What guidance do we have for the reflectors and the other types that are watching this? Oh, yeah. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So you got the Revenge card. That's totally Black Moon Lilith. Revenge. And Pride. And Pride. And then the Eight of Swords. And the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands. Okay. So this is for the reflectors, but it's also the wrap-up for all the other types. Okay. So Revenge. So this is all about confrontations. This solar eclipse, confrontations within relationships. Because remember, the South Node is in Libra and the North Node's in Aries, right? And the eclipse is in Libra, the sign of Libra. Okay, so the 48 is the divine feminine, So there's a big theme about needs, expressing your needs. There's a big theme about anger, deep emotions, right? Around sexuality, Dark Moon Lilith, sexuality, and Venus is trining Mars, which I forgot to mention here, right? Venus is trining Mars, and this can be like, do I have passion in my relationships? And passion means physical passion. That means sexual passion. Sexual, spiritual passion will come up if that's missing in your relationship, if that's expired. And then, so expressing your needs, about expressing your needs. So there can be some revenge here. So especially when the lights come on, right? Because we're talking about a karmic cycle coming to a close, justice in the world. We've got Mars in the 53. That's the gate of maturation. That's closing up a cycle, right? It's squaring this, right? And then this is like, I can't hold back anymore. I cannot hold back anymore. I cannot repress these emotions. They're too volatile, right, with the solar eclipse, because this is about getting you on your right destiny path, right? But what the ego can do is to come up with revenge, So these are deep, like, right, because this is the gate of depth. These can be deep within. People can stay in relationships because they want revenge. This is the old saying, like when trying to poison revenge is like trying to poison your partner, but you end up poisoning yourself, right? Because you're filled with this revenge and resentment, right? This anger. Black Moon Lilith is going to bring that up. Mars squaring the eclipse is going to bring that up, right? So wanting to attack back. So people have stayed in relationships because of that. It's like, I'm not going anywhere, man, because I want money. I want that money. This is where people have stayed in these loveless marriages. What are you kidding? I'm not going to lose that house. I've invested all of this money in this. They end up poisoning themselves, right? Because they want revenge on that partner, right? This is how the ego works, right? So this energy can be repressed, right? So maybe you're not even aware of this energy yet. Solar eclipse is bringing this purging. It's purging all those dirty, dark emotions are coming to the surface, right? And so what can happen with this revenge energy? It gets repressed inside and then it spills out. And it will spill out in terms of accidents, like getting into an accident, like falling down, or car accidents, things like that. Failures, like failing in things, having losses, illness too. The root of it can be revenge, general setbacks, right? So this is deep within. And then you've got the 48 here. You can really, really go deep, right? It's like really, really go deep in terms of your relationships, right? Am I experiencing this? Like just weird accidents I've had over the years since I've been with this person, illnesses that I've had, like failures I've had, losses. Well, it's this revenge energy that's really, really buried deep below. Because remember, it's karmic. I talked about this. I forget which. I think it was the Manifesting Generator. Listen to that. Karmic relationships, right? They come with volatile emotions, right? So say, in your past life, you've had a past life with somebody and they were like, they completely oppressed you. They controlled you. They made you miserable, right? Miserable, right? They left you. Maybe they left you to take care of the children. You were miserable and you died with this revenge. I'm going to get back at that person. They made my life so miserable, right? And then you come into this lifetime, right? You come into this lifetime and then of course you meet again because you've got unfinished business and you've got all this revenge, but it's in the unconscious. On the surface, it looks great. We're in this great relationship, but it spills out sometimes, right? This anger. Well, it's really going to spill out during the solar eclipse because we're closing up these karmic cycles. And maybe your lesson here is forgiveness, right? Maybe your lesson is here is forgiveness. I forgive this person. I'm going to work through this anger. I'm going to feel this, right? That I didn't feel in my past life, this sorrow and grief. I'm going to finally feel this. And this can be intense when it comes from your past life, right? These feelings. Okay. So letting this go. And this is about forgiveness. It's about trusting in karma. That's the Justice card. Trust in the karma. Karma will do everything, right? Because this is making you miserable. Reflectors and other types that are listening to this. Right? So to give it up. Karma takes care of justice and close this up. The world, this is like closing up karmic cycles, maybe from lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes with the same person over and over and over again, never getting the lesson, right? You're ready to let it go. And here's a reason why you don't want to let it go is pride, right? I can't let that other person see me powerless. I can't see that. I can't let this person see me cry and vulnerable. I got to look like I have it all together, right? So pride is like I can't look powerless in the eyes of the other person. This is a refusal to humble the ego. Maybe that's your lesson too. Is to let go of this prideful ego, right? And it's also to recognize that your vulnerability, because this is really calling you to be vulnerable, right? So this means you don't stay in your anger. You don't stay in the resentment and anger. You go to the bottom, right? You go to the fear, and then you go to the grief, and then you mature, 53, right? You mature, you finish the cycle up, right? And then you're free. So, eight of swords, letting go of victim thinking, right? This is all in your mind. It's all in your mind now. Feeling trapped, restricted, maybe in your relationship you're feeling that, but this is what's really holding you. This is what's holding you in this relationship is revenge and pride, right? To go to the root of that, right? And then what you're going to do You're going to see that Eight of Swords, but underneath it is here. This is the story I can't leave. I can't get out of this, but this is what's holding me. Pride and revenge. And then look what's here, right? This is love. The Ace of Cups. Love coming from the divine. This is new. This is an emotional awakening for you. That's the guidance. But you got to let go, right? You got to forgive and let go and give it to God. I'm giving all this to God. I'm giving this to the divine. So this is spirituality. It's intuition. It's creativity. That's your guidance, right? It's to love, love, love. And the Ace of Cups can mean self-love too. It's loving yourself. Yeah. And so you open your heart to love, right? There's no heart open here. The ego doesn't want your heart open to love. It wants you in revenge. I got to get back at that person, even if it kills me, right? Even if I'm like ill and I'm having accidents and failures and losses and I'm miserable. The pride, right? I got to get back at that person. I can't let them see me weak, right? That's the story you're telling yourself. But this is what's waiting when you let go, when you let go. So it's going to come up. So this is what I would say to the reflectors and the other types, is to go deep with the 48, the gate of depth, and go to the grief. Feel the grief. And it will be intense, especially lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. But this is about letting go of something so something new can come in. Letting go of this karmic relationship so new love can come in. Right? Yeah, let this go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. So new beginnings, yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. And for the people that are still watching, just a reminder of the online retreat that's starting next week. I'm very excited about, because I can always feel the energy coming in. And let me see. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just read this. It says, oh, I can move this. That's great. Okay, so the wounded inner teen. So why is it the inner teen? What does the inner teen have to do with deconditioning? It has a lot to do with deconditioning, actually. So our wounded teen in us never grows up. So if we were healthy and we lived in a healthy world and we didn't live in on a hospital plane, right? And not able to be our authentic self. Well, there's a processes that we go through. And so the inner teen is it's a very important process that we go through. And this is when we individuate. As teenagers, this is when we individuate. And this is when we separate from our families of origin, our religion, our culture, right? We basically, education, we move away from this conditioning field that we've been living in. And this is when we discover our authentic identity, our authenticity. This is when we claim this during the inner teen years. And this is when we assert ourselves out in the world. And we're supported by wise, caring, spiritual adults with no agenda other than for us to evolve into ourself, our sovereign beings, authentic self. So underneath this, you can't read this, but it says it hides an important spiritual gift, right? Our teenager. So this is definitely a major part of our deconditioning work, our purging work, because what's in its place is a wounded teen, right? And the wounded teen is the one that's lashing out. The wounded teen is the one self-sabotaging us. The wounded teen is the one that's going for the addictions. The wounded teen is choosing the wrong people for us. Right? And the wounded teen now is calling for our attention. So we'll be looking at your chart too to find this hidden spiritual gift that the teen holds, the healed teen. And so remember, my retreats are all about experience. They're not about knowledge. Knowledge isn't enough now to get information. It's not enough. You have to have an experience. So there's lots of meditations, and it's very intense. It's compacted into one weekend so that you can start this process, like really get a jump start on this process. Okay. So check in with your strategy and authority if that's correct for you. And please sign up. The discount ends on the 22nd. Okay. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already for my channel. And I hope that was of value for you. Okay. And I'll see you in the next video. Okay. Sat Nam Aloha, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.